Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, you guys know what it is. We're talking about champs, all things champs. Going to talk a little EWC, maybe what roster mania is going to look like moving forward here. If you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. Brock, it was a busy weekend for us. We were
It
live
was.
for live for 10 hours uh, over the weekend. We had you, me, your brother, a couple of our buddies watch partying. Had a lot of you guys in there. Saw a lot of people in the chat. Um, and yeah, I mean, the weird thing is, I mean, we've never live streamed on YouTube before, or like that was our first watch party. And the weirdest thing to me
Mhm.
is, we had people coming in the chat here and there. We were talking to people randomly. We had viewers popping in and out. And the live streams did about as I expected. For our first time doing it, it went well. Obviously, some hiccups getting started. We were a little late the first day because I couldn't get like the echo gone. It was like capturing my voice like 6 times, so we had some issues with that. Got that all sorted out. You guys were popping in and out. The crazy thing to me was the live streams were performing like crazy well after the fact. Like a lot of people were coming in and commenting, and like there were like 900 views on our champs watch party like after the fact. So like people were really they were really checking that out. Um and I've been
Yeah, that's
seemed like
crazy.
seemed like people really enjoyed it. Um so that's really good to see. Um, Excited to do that some more. Like we said last week, if you guys didn't know we were streaming or something, or you missed it, I think we'll be streaming this off season a little more. Obviously, not watch party stuff, um, but I think we might stream some ranked play potentially. Maybe when Fringe gets back in on the new drop. Once we get all that situated, we might stream some random Val gameplay. You and I are not keyboard and mouse players, but we might
That'll be a tough to watch
yeah, we
for
might
us.
stream our road out of bronze, out of iron even. I don't even know what I placed it. I might be iron 3 or something because I mean you and I we don't play keyboard and mouse, so we're terrible. Um,
Yeah.
we might stream that a little bit. We're gonna at some point there's gonna be down in the description. There's gonna be a link to the Twitch that Brock's gonna stream on. Because I'm gonna stream off YouTube.
Mhm.
Brock's gonna stream off Twitch. Some of our other friends that we're playing with are gonna be streaming. We might play some games with Jake or somebody else. We'll see. But yeah, if you guys want to check out the live streams, we'll always tweet them when they're live. We'll probably post something on YouTube. You'll see notifications. Turn the notifications on if you want to see when we're streaming. But overall, it went pretty well. It was fun to talk to some of you guys in the chat. But champs, I think to say the least, Brock, it did not go how we expected.
I mean, you're not wrong. It literally was the opposite of what we had,
Um,
what we thought.
I mean, the crazy thing is usually you and I, obviously we're not perfect on predictions, but I would say usually overall we do above average on our predictions.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd say most of the time.
I actually just pulled up my bracket, Brock. You said you got 3 points on yours.
Yeah, I got 3 points in the one match I got right was the first match between Toronto Ultra and the Royal Ravens, which got me all 3 points.
Yeah, you did better than me. I got two because I'm pretty sure in our prediction video I picked Heretics over Vancouver in
Yeah.
round one, but for some reason in my bracket I put 3-2 Vancouver, which
Oh,
it
yeah.
wouldn't have made a world of difference because I would have had uh, them losing to LA Thieves in the next round anyways and all that. So it wouldn't have made that much of a difference. But yeah, we did horrible. But I feel like in general, pretty much everybody did horrible. The only thing that probably saved some people is because there was probably just a lot of people that pick OpTic because they're OpTic fans.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah, so I would say
probably,
so.
I mean, like this guy that had the best bracket got 37 points. Can I see his bracket? No. It does show me his bracket. So like even okay, the guy with the best bracket had LAT in winners final.
Yeah.
He just had OpTic.
Jeez.
He just had OpTic beating them in the winners final. The thing with him though was his losers bracket was like. I mean, think about this. The guy that had the best bracket had Boston getting last.
Yeah.
So like that's how poor overall as a community we did. Um, the thing for this guy though, why he won, he picked OpTic Surge final.
Yeah.
He had Surge running all the way through the lower bracket, um,
Shit
beating
they
Thieves in
did.
the losers final. So I mean, he was able to win off that, but like it was just a crazy champs. And I mean, we're gonna kind of talk a little bit like match by match and stuff about it, and then we're going to kind of get into talks about how this affects the all-time rankings because there may be some people entering some conversations. I guess kind of starting with the first round, the shocker, Breach versus Thieves was the big shocker of the first round. I mean, there was obviously another shocker in there, but Breach versus Thieves was an absolute shocker. We like joked about it
We did.
on the pod last week and talking, oh well, it happened once. Like, could it happen again? And we kind of laughed. We were like, no, it's not gonna happen again. Like, there's no
And
way it's not gonna happen again. I mean, Thieves are the favorites. They won back-to-back events, and Breach came out and they Nesloed them, and that was the theme for Breach this weekend when they were able to win matches was through a Neslo.
the Neslo.
Yeah,
Damn. Yeah, they didn't get their first rejudge. It didn't get their first hard point win until
yeah,
what? They were surge like top three.
they literally didn't get their first hardpoint win until their backs were against the wall. It was elimination, right? It was
Yep.
the game 4 and losers final.
Yep. Yep.
Was when they finally got their first hardpoint win on the board. So yeah, we were talking about it on the stream, but I was kind of like, I honestly hope they don't win a hardpoint. I hope they Neslo either OpTic in the winners final or Neslo whoever in the losers final, because I literally wanted to see them just go through the
Mhm.
entire bracket and make it to grand finals without winning a hardpoint, because it would just be kind of a hilarious stat. And then technically they could have won finals because there was what, 4 S&Ds and 2 controls.
Yep.
So technically, they could have won finals without winning a hardpoint. That would have been hilarious if a team won champs without winning a hardpoint.
That would have been just absolute insane.
I mean, it would.
And I was just kind of hoping, they made it to finals breach, but they fell a little bit short.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I kept saying it on the watch party, but I was kind of glad they didn't make it to finals once we saw how Vancouver was playing, because, I mean, Vancouver did give us the best. I would say the best finals of the
Yep.
CDL era. It was not only was it 5-3, so it was close, but there were a lot of absolute banger maps. Um, Overall on the series. I'm trying to pull up the exact score lines here in a sec, but there were a
Yeah.
lot of banger maps, and I mean, there are some maps that Vancouver is going to look back on and be like, "Damn!"
Ooh,
Like,
they
I
had
mean,
it.
there was, I mean, even a map in there for OpTic where it was like that as well, where we are like, "Oh my god, if OpTic end up losing this, there's a map in here like, wow, they blew that." Well, because I mean, we'll get to the finals in a little bit. Actually, let's talk about the rest of the first round. But
Yep.
Surge versus Heretics again. Surge, they dropped down to losers one. They got beat by Heretics. They came out firing. They win the map one uh,
Mhm.
against the Heretics, and it's like, okay, Surge, like, are you back? Are you back in form? Because obviously we saw them get last at the last major. Um, Seemed to be the case that they were back in form, and then Heretics just rattle off 3 straight maps against them and Surge are down in the losers bracket, and we're kind of thinking LAT fell down to play them, so Surge are probably done in last place.
Yeah, you would think so, but the Surge team kind of, showed a little bit of that composure this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, a composure we have seen this year because they were able to make a few finals, but um, yeah, they fall down in the losers bracket. Miami moves on. Uh, it was a Rencor and Super show. It was a Rencor show for Miami pretty much the whole weekend. He tied shottzyy, I believe it was, for the
He
number one
was,
KD at the event.
he was incredible all weekend.
Yeah. Uh, and then the rest of the winners bracket, obviously, we had OpTic 3-0ing FaZe, which set the tone for the tournament because OpTic went into the grand finals not having dropped a map. So
Hmm.
just an awesome showing from OpTic, and the 3-1 for Ultra Ravens, like whatever. Ravens scammed a bunch, but I don't really care too much about that match.
They they, they should have won 2 matches and they just choked at the end both
Yeah,
times.
I mean, they realistically choked multiple maps against FaZe as well. Like they had a chance to close out maps against FaZe and just didn't do it. So Ravens,
Yep.
whatever, they're probably making a roster change. I'm not that concerned with them. But that OpTic FaZe match, I mean, it was a close hard point. OpTic pull it out, and it seemed like from there it was like, okay, it's go time for OpTic. Like they have
Hmm.
momentum, and they took it. They won the S&D 6-3. Um, and they won the control 3-1, and it was just overall a masterclass from Mr. Merck in his first champs match, a 1.45. Um, the whole team was really shooting overall. I mean, huke was shooting, which was good to see. Huke on land in a big time match against what was supposed to be one of our 2 favorites. To see huke show up like that, like OpTic was awesome in this match.
They were, and I was kind of shocked. I definitely thought it would be a 3-0, maybe thinking more 3-0 the other way, but FaZe, struggled.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people were thinking, 3-0, 3-1 if it gets mixy 3-2, but I think most people, again, unless you had the optic shades on, I think most people were thinking, probably a win for the side of FaZe.
Yeah.
Was not, and FaZe dropped into losers. Like we said, it got a little scary a few maps there, for them uh, against Ravens, but overall they closed it out. Ravens are not much to worry about because they tend to troll those maps away.
Hmm. They
LAT
do.
though, in that losers round one, they get
Man.
3 0'd by Vancouver. I mean, LAT was 2-6 in this tournament in map count, which means obviously they did not win a series. They didn't even win enough maps to win a series. Just a shocking result. Probably still, I don't even know what's more shocking: OpTic winning the tournament or LAT getting not only not winning but getting dead last.
After they went back to back and
Yeah, after
just
they
did
went
not
back to
win a
back, and
single series.
I mean they were the clear cut favorites. Like
Yep.
you could say, like of course you and I both picked FaZe to win this tournament, but FaZe was number two. It wasn't a crazy pick. Everybody pretty much would have them as number two. But LA Thieves were 100% the favorite, and there were some close maps in here. Obviously, all three maps were pretty close, but the Surge go on to take it. And overall on the weekend, just a disappointing showing from the Thieves. Obviously, when you go 2-6 map count and get double first round as the favorite, it's going to be disappointing. But just like Hydra had a 1.14 to lead their team. And even after that, Envoy was at a 1.01. Scrap, who was our regular season MVP, had a 0.96 on the event.
Mm,
Um, and
that's not good.
Ghosty had a 0.91. The AR duo for Thieves just did not get it done. And Scrap, again, like a 0.96 out of Scrap is just something uncharacteristic. Like we're used to him just being a walking 1.2.
Yep.
Just an uncharacteristic weekend out of Scrap. And it's unfortunate it landed. I don't think it's like, I mean, I know Scrap has, some people are like, oh my God, he's got some issues at champs or whatever. Like his first champs he made to the grand finals. I think Scrap's fine. Uh,
Yeah.
just a bad weekend of COD, and it came at like literally the worst time. And unfortunately, the way COD is, like a couple things in a map don't go your way, it can snowball, and all of a sudden you just lost 6 maps and you're out of a tournament. Still
Mm,
unacceptable for Thieves because they're supposed to be our favorites, but just a crazy weekend overall.
yeah. Losing that Boston match probably just derailed them a little bit, and
Yeah.
then the Surge team who just is like, have they beat them? Have the Surge beat them LA this year? Beside,
I maybe online in a match, but like in every important match, no. They lost him in the minors final. They lost him in the major
yeah,
final. Like in an important match, no. Thieves have beat them. I think they beat them every time, even in regular season matches, but I could be wrong.
yeah. Then LA losing 3-0,
Yeah.
heartbreaker for the Thieves fans.
hmm Which I mean, again, like I don't even know how much more we can harp on it, but LA Thieves just an incredibly disappointing finish. Like they're supposed to win the tournament, and if they end up getting third, they get second. It's like, what, they were right there. It's like just because you're the favorite doesn't mean you win, but to get last place and not even really put up a fight was just crazy. One of the crazier results we've seen, and really that Boston over them was one of the crazier upsets we've seen. Like
Hmm.
Boston was literally written off by everyone, including us. They
Yep.
were supposed to be the worst team at this tournament, and they were supposed
100%.
to be playing the favorites. They were like, okay, they're dropping to losers, and then they played the loser of Surge Heretics, two very solid teams, and they're expected, okay, Boston are maybe going to get a map, and they're out of the tournament. So just a crazy way for it to end. And speaking of favorites falling, uh, FaZe does not get much further. They bow out
Yeah.
top six in our second worst placing after losing to the Miami Heretics 3-0 and losing to OpTic 3-0. They won 3-0, thankfully, against Royal Ravens to get some maps on the board, but they got 6-0 out of the tournament overall in their 2 losses. Uh, it was a head scratching performance. I mean, you and I always talk about how, like in our eyes, like Simp potentially is the greatest talent we've seen. Simp had the third worst KD at this event. Dylan
Yeah.
Rex
He
was a
he
0.74,
struggled.
Insight was a 0.79, and Simp was tied with Tej with a 0.81. It was probably the worst tournament I can remember Simp playing, especially one of this magnitude.
Yeah. But most definitely, and maybe some days you have your off day and happy to be a chance for Simp, and not a great look, but I'm sure he'll bounce back.
No, and like I don't want to just be like it means nothing because it's Simp, but like obviously like he deserves the criticism. Like He'll be the first one to say he had a bad event. I mean, his teammate Draza was right there with him, just above him at a
Yeah.
0.83, which again, uncharacteristic for Draza. Although a lot of people are pulling up that stat of how Draza, uh, since winning champs, has gotten like eighth, sixth, sixth, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Which, yes, or maybe it's three top sixes. Uh, yes, and I know it's obviously because like the big clip of him on the flank saying like I chose phase because I thought we consistently win more. Now everybody's like, after last year they were like, well, he could have made the right decision because he won EWC and all these events, and now it's like OpTic fans are just trying to dunk on him because they're like, well, we won back to back chips or back to back rings, I should say. So did he really get the correct decision there? Um, but Draza really struggled this weekend. Even like, I mean, Abizi was pretty good overall. Cell has good numbers as he always does, but just like FaZe only beating Carolina, getting 6-0 the rest of your matches, just a crazy look. And like, I don't know, Simp has a terrible event, not giving him a full pass, but at the same time, like, it's really the first terrible event we've seen him have. Like, I'm like, damn, it couldn't have come at a worse time, but also, like, he was bound to have one bad champs event at some point.
Yep.
It's just unfortunate too because for his legacy, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but like it was a perfect storm for him potentially getting passed because like he has this bad of an event and a guy that is kind of chasing him. I would say, I mean, people might be biased now and recency bias, but before this event, shottzyy was 100% behind him. Wasn't even a debate.
Yep.
Wasn't even a debate, and now all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, now shottzy's won back-to-back rings. It's been a while since Simp has won one, and we'll get into that talk in a little bit. But now all of a sudden it's like, man, Simp has this bad of an event and shottzyy does this. Like, people are talking about it.
Mm, definitely.
Um, which leads us, Brock, into our other top six team, Ultra. I don't really have a whole lot to say about this team. I feel like this isn't a shocking placing. They
Kind of where we thought.
Since they brought in Merc and then let him go, and or his 2-week contract expired, they provided more clarity on that. They just gave him a 2-week contract and he decided not to resign. He went to OpTic instead, which I think every single person would do that. Um,
Yep.
I'm not too shocked by this placement. I don't have anything crazy to say. Like it felt like a team that was very, very good all year, and towards the end of the year with the little swap between Merc and Beans, they just kind of ran out of steam and overall just weren't at their peak form. They felt like a team
Hmm.
that was on the decline going into champs. So this placement just really doesn't shock me too much. Um,
Yeah.
I want to save thoughts again for we'll go team by team and talk about like roster stuff for roster mania, but I have some spicy thoughts about this team, I think. But just disappointing for them considering all year they were like hovering in the top 4, I would say for a majority of the year. For them to bow out top 6 is disappointing.
Indeed. Yep.
Then we had Miami bow out in 4th.
Man.
I feel like, I mean, it was a heartbreaker for them, but I think it's kind of like about where I expected them to be. I expected them to be in 3rd or 4th.
Yep.
It's the range. It's not like a super disappointing placement. I would say how it happened is pretty disappointing for them considering they were up 4-1 in that map 5 over Boston.
Just
Chance to
gotta
go to
close
winners
that out.
finals. Like you're up 4-1, chance to go to winners finals. Who knows what could have been different? Obviously, OpTic looked essentially unbeatable. I don't think Miami beats them, but you never know. You never know what could have happened. Miami could have come out hot. They could have beat OpTic. Don't think it would have happened because, again, OpTic looked like the best team in the venue this weekend. They looked unreal, but you never know how things could change. You're up 4-1, you close it out, you're in the winners final. You never know what could happen. Miami could have gotten 3rd. Obviously, if they win that, they're guaranteed 3rd. Maybe they would have won the whole thing.
Hmm.
You never know, but you got to close that out, and then from there they lose another game 5 to Surge. So kind of a what if weekend from Miami. But again, a valiant effort to end the year. Miami was, up and down to start the year. They make the change for Super, and from there on out, they're a consistent top 4 team. So a good effort for Miami this weekend. But yeah, they're going to be kicking themselves for that winners final, or sorry, winners semi. They're going to be kicking themselves 4-1 lead in the game 5, and you don't close it out.
Yeah. You gotta think you can close that out and get that momentum and stuff.
Yeah, got to close that one out. Our 3rd place
Hmm.
team, Boston.
Boston.
I mean, can you say a negative thing?
What a
Like,
weekend.
there's literally nothing negative you can say. I mean, like, if you want to nitpick and be like, they got slammed by OpTic, and then it's tough. They lose a map 5 to Vancouver to go to finals, but like Boston Breach was one map away from the champs grand final. That's all I have to say. There's literally nothing negative you
That's
can say.
insane.
All year, it was like they just picked up a challengers, 3 of the challengers players that were on the championship roster or second place roster
Yep.
even. They were actually on the second place roster, weren't they? Because they lost to Arcitys.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
I believe
Cammy,
so.
Cammy, Wake, Purge, and I forget who their fourth was in challengers.
Was it Prelude?
I think Perloot might have been on the winning team. I don't remember. But anyways, they were like this. They didn't even win Challenger champs. They picked up those 3, paired them with Snoopy, and it was like, all right, let's run it this year. And it was kind of like, I mean, this team's kind of boring, but like they're solid enough players. It's like I think we didn't have faith in them. We didn't think they were ever going to make champs in the preseason. But again, it was like a team that's like, they could be decent enough where they could make champs, but like they're not going to do much.
Yeah.
And I think pretty much everybody thought coming into this tournament they weren't going to do much.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people thought they probably wouldn't win the map and bow out. I bet.
I mean, I think both of us thought that. I mean, with them playing LAT in the first round, it's like they're going to lose
I
their
never
first
thought
match.
that.
And it's
Yeah.
like they're going to lose their first match, and then like they fall down, they play the loser of Surge Heretics. They're probably going to lose again. So again, there's literally basically nothing negative you can say unless you want to be like, well, they got slammed by OpTic or something. But again, like, did anybody even expect them to be playing for, top 6 or top 4, and then for third?
Yeah.
Like, and nobody expected that, and they didn't even do it through like a weird winners or losers bracket where they played some easy teams. They literally beat Thieves and then beat Heretics and then lost to OpTic and lost to Surge. Like, they beat 2 really good teams that were 2 of our probably top. I would say coming into this tournament, LAT were the favorite. Miami was probably third
Yeah.
because FaZe was probably
Agreed.
second. So they beat 2 of our expected top 3 teams in this tournament. Purge had an awesome weekend. I think technically by the numbers, if you go by KD, who was their number 1?
I think it might have been Purge.
What's
Or
crazy
Snoopy
is,
was up there.
I mean, their KDs make sense. It's Snoopy with a 0.94.
Yeah,
Again, I
Purge
think,
is 0.93.
yeah, and then Cammy 0.88, Awakening 0.84, which, I mean, their KDs being lower despite being third makes sense because again, they were like what 1-6 or 1-7 in hardpoint. So like
Yeah.
their KDs being lower obviously overall makes sense. And that OpTic series probably really destroyed their numbers because they
Hmm.
got smoked in that series. But I thought Purge was their best player this weekend. Like, he was doing some unreal things in the map, and I think he really potentially earned himself a better team next year because again, I don't really think Boston is going to be an organization next year. So all their players might kind of disperse, and a lot of these players might have played their way into longer careers because like Cammy and Wake were probably on their last legs and maybe their last chance, and now maybe somebody will give them a chance because of this placement. Snoopy to Heretics makes a lot of sense for medals if he's
Does.
a free agent, and then obviously I think Purge. We talked about it. Our boy PD was in the chat and he was saying like I think Purge gets a top team. I don't think Purge gets a top team, but I think Purge potentially works his way from being one of those players that constantly gets the bottom tier teams to maybe Purge gets a team this year where they're like a 5th through 8th place team somewhere in there that we expect, and maybe he can play his way up. I think Purge potentially gets himself onto more of a mid pack team rather than these bottom teams, and has a chance to prove himself with even better teammates. But I mean, I have nothing negative to say about Boston. Like I was a hater on them all year, and they impressed me. They were fun to watch this weekend, rooting for an underdog like that.
Yeah, for real. Just shout out Boston. We always write them off and they wrote back.
Yeah, I mean, nothing negative to say. We can move on to the grand finals. Surge versus OpTic. Obviously, we all know the result, but what a valiant effort from Surge. I mean, they fall into losers bracket. They take out LAT 3-0. They take out Ultra 3-0. Obviously, Ultra, like we said, we're on the decline, but still a solid team, not an easy out. They take out a very good and hot Miami team 3-2.
Hmm.
Take out Boston 3-2. So they did a little bit of everything in that losers bracket. They beat our favorites LAT 3-0. They beat a solid Ultra team 3-0, and they clutched up in 2 map 5s to make it to the final against Heretics and Breach, where they played OpTic. And we'll just focus on the grand finals because we already said OpTic steamrolled 3 teams to get into the finals. So, I mean,
Sure did.
not much to say there. Merc was him leading up to that finals. Obviously, in the finals, he wasn't as good, but still had some big plays. it was really shottzyy in the finals. If you were to give a finals MVP, it'd be shottzyy. They gave Merc the MVP for the tournament. I still think it probably should have been shottzyy personally. Um,
Yeah,
but again,
probably after the
yeah,
finals. Yeah,
again, but like Merc was like a 1.56 heading into finals. So like
crazy
he,
numbers.
he was literally he was ahead of IW formal, even though the whole maps thing everybody was talking about. But in
Yeah.
that final, we mentioned we were going to talk about it. It was really the throw from each team had a moment in this series where I was like, wow, they're going to look back at that and be like, damn, if I could just change one thing. Each team had that moment. Obviously,
Hmm.
OpTic come out, they win the Hacienda 250 to 150, 151. Overall, just kind of a dominant map from OpTic. It was close, close, close. Then OpTic just ran away with it. Because where did it split here? Yeah, the Vancouver was down like about 60 points. They have a nice comeback. They cut it to 149 to 124, and then from there, OpTic just runs away with it. 250 to
Yep.
151. They ran away with it. I remember it was really close for a point, and then they just kind of split off. But what a
Hmm.
bounce back from Vancouver. Not only did they win the map
Six
too,
zero.
6-0, boom. Tie series. And then
It was a quick dealership search.
yeah, very quick dealership search. And then here's the moment, Brock, where
Probably should have won this one too.
you're gonna look at it if you are uh the Vancouver Surge and you're gonna be like, damn, this is the moment. It was OpTic. OpTic was in a man. They were down lives. They needed a tick on B on proto control, and for some reason, like nobody on Surge was close enough to the point. That was the round
Yeah,
four,
there.
correct?
Yeah, tied up 2-2.
Yeah, because Surge were up 2-1, and then nobody's close enough to the point. Somebody on Surge goes down like close to point. Nobody else is close enough, and then all of a sudden, like OpTic just has a couple people on. They cap the point, and it was like Surge. Like somebody was playing like the top middle building.
Yeah, and they had lives too.
Yeah, they had lives, and like they just had one person close to point. That person dies. OpTic just hops the point and caps it, and it's like, hello, Surge. They were only one tick away. Like, why was nobody else near the point to pick up a kill, jump on time, contest it so your teammates can get there? Like, it was just a troll. Like,
Yeah,
and
it
then
was a troll.
they go on to lose the final round. And I remember we were on the watch party, and I think all of us basically said it. We were like, damn, that if you lose this series, if you're Surge, you're gonna look back at this and be like, we absolutely trolled. Not only a map that it's not like they were down 4-0 and they trolled the map, lost 5-0. Like this was to put them up 2-1.
Yep.
And then going into the map 4, they had a very good chance to close out the vault. I mean, they're down 100 points in the middle of that map. 143
Hmm.
to 54, down 90 points. And they storm back and have a chance at the end to take the lead. They're holding the end of that P4. shottzyy pops a crazy 3, stops that
Big three
time.
piece.
They go in and they get the rest of the P1 time. And it's like, now you're staring down the barrel of a 3-1, and you could have certainly should have won the protocol, and it would be 2-2. And now all of a sudden you're down 3-1.
Yep.
Okay. And then on the other hand, now it's OpTic's turn to troll. If you're OpTic, you're up 3-1. It's like, man, we put away this protocol search. Like, we're up 4-1. Like, we got to dagger them. Like we're up 4-1. We just have to win one map. They got to win 4 in a row. Like, pretty much dagger time if you're OpTic.
Yep.
OpTic starts down 2-0 in the search, win 4 straight. Then it's 4-3. They go up 5-3, and Seattle rattles off 3 straight rounds against OpTic. OpTic blows a 5-3 lead, and then we're sitting there on the watch party, and we're like, damn, this is OpTic's moment now. Like, you had a chance to go up 4-1. You were up 5-3 in search, and you blow the 5-3 lead, and it's like, now it's 3-2. It's anybody's ball game.
Yep.
And Hacienda control, all of a sudden, then Vancouver wins it. And I'm not going to lie, there was a moment there. That was like the moment on the watch party where I was like, okay, OpTic, like, I was pretty confident going into Sunday. I was like, I think OpTic's going to win. Like, they look unreal. Surge are great, but OpTic looks unbeatable. And at this moment, when Surge were able to tie it up 2-1 after OpTic had all the momentum and then trolled the Surge and loses the control, I'm like, Surge might just do this. Surge might just do it. Is that kind of what you were at too?
Yeah, after they were down 3-1, even up 3-3, have the momentum, going to search on Hacienda. But that was not the case.
Yeah. Hacienda Surge, then OpTic rattles off an overall pretty easy one. It's 1-1. OpTic
Yep.
rattles off 4 straight, gets to 5-2. OpTic closes it out 6-2. I mean, OpTic was 7-1 in first bloods in this map. Just overall, a pretty easy map for OpTic. They go up 4-3, and then in the final closeout map 8, looked for a bit like we were going 9. I mean, again, the
Mm-hmm.
middle of that HP, it was 156 to 84 for the Surge, and then it was 171, 106, and then OpTic started to come back, and they kind of rolled it out. And obviously, we know how the rest finished. They had a nice comeback on the P1 into the P2 there, and they close it out.
Oh yeah. I wish it would have went game 9. I want to see game 9.
I know when Surge was up early, I was getting hyped. I was like, I just want to see a game 9.
Yeah. And then OpTic chained that the P2 hill, P2 to P3, whatever it was.
P1 to P2. Are you talking about the one that they won on?
Oh no, another one where they came back from like down like 70.
Oh yeah, they've chained. Yeah, P. It was P3 and
It's the
P4.
dumpster, whatever the dumpster hill is.
Yeah, and then at the end they chained P1, P2 uh,
Yeah.
to win it. Shottzyy obviously gets the big 2, and then you were saying on the watch party when he like shouldered that third guy, you were like, "Oh my god, if that was me with the dope, I'm just sliding at the guy in challenge."
Yeah, for real.
Which that is, I mean, that's a crazy disciplined play to make in the moment. Like it's obviously the right play, and like,
Yeah.
I mean, you expect Shotzzy to make the right play. I mean, at this point, he's a 3-time world champion, but like that is like a crazy play. It's like you get that first 2, you're screaming dead, and you see the scoreboard, like you're thinking like, holy shit, we're about to win champs, and like to not slide out at the third guy and potentially cost your team a map if that guy all of a sudden he kills you, and then he slides out and kills your teammate. All of a sudden he's got a 2-piece, and like they break, you never know what happens. But it was pretty cool. Did you hear the like clip of the winning moment? They OpTic posted like a 20-minute video. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw the clip of like the winning moment.
I did not actually see that yet.
It was kind of cool because you hear Shotzzy scream dead, and you can literally hear like the tears in his voice as he's like
Yeah.
screaming dead. You can hear like the emotion, and that's like a cool moment whenever you hear like
hmm
somebody winning, and like you can hear like the emotion coming out, because also like, I mean, him and Dashy went through hell this year on that team. Like, I
A lot
mean,
of changes.
go back to our podcast from a few months ago, and it's like, what the hell's wrong with OpTic? They haven't won a map in a month.
Yeah. They went 0
Yeah,
0
like
18 in
let me
qualifiers.
get my
What
headset
was
shut off. What the hell's
stage?
going on? Uh, there we go. They hadn't won a map in a month. And
Yeah.
it's like,
They won a map for a month and comeback story and win champs.
yeah, not only like, oh, they end the year nice. No, they won champs. They literally won the tournament that means everything.
Yep.
So just a crazy turn of events for them, and just, I mean, it's truly unbelievable. And like, I mean, that I just like to hear the emotion from like whatever player it is. Like it was like when Rencor was getting emotional about like having a big match, and like him
hmm
first coming back, because like, I mean, you're a competitive person. I'm a competitive person. Obviously, I haven't won a world championship in anything, but like
Yeah.
I played a lot of sports and stuff in my life, and just done a lot of competition things. And even when you win like a regular season game in a sport you're playing, or like a random early like round robin tournament game in a basketball tournament growing up or something, like you just, it's fun to win. Like
Yep.
you like winning, it's a good feeling. Now amplify that by a million because it's a world championship for whatever that thing is. And like
Yep.
that's why the emotion is cool, because like, I mean, players work hard for it, so it's cool to hear that when you hear a player getting
Mhm.
that
All the
amped. Yeah.
all the hard work and grinding paid off.
Well, and like what a disappointment it would have been. Obviously, it's a huge disappointment for Surge. I'm not saying that. It's a massive disappointment for Surge to not win, but what an extra disappointment it would have been for OpTic, knowing like you had such a hell year. You worked all this way so hard. All of a sudden, it's like, oh my god, we are in the champs grand finals, and like we have a chance to win it. All of a sudden, you lose. It'd be like, okay, so we came back from all this hardship just to not win it. On the other hand, I mean, Surge, you were in 3 finals this year, 4 if you include the minor final, and you didn't win a single one.
Yep.
Talk about heartbreaking.
Oh yeah.
I tweeted at Rambo
That
though. He dropped a like on it. And I tweeted at Rambo in his like long post, and I was like, honestly, what a terrible year from you though. Because
hmm
I mean, coming into this year, what did everybody say? It was the big 3. It was OpTic, it was FaZe, it was LAT. They're gonna win every single tournament.
Yep.
Granted, funny enough, those 3 teams actually did win every single tournament. Not in the way we expected, but they did. But you thought those 3 in some combination would be every single final, right?
Yep.
Surge made 60% of the finals this year. There were 4 majors
That's
and champs, and Surge made 3 of those finals. Surge made it to over half of the finals this year. They made it to
that's insane.
60%. Yeah. even if you add in the minor finals, they still made it to over half because you add on 2 tournaments, they made it to 1.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah.
go, they made it in 4 out of 7 then. Like, they made it to over half the finals if you add the minors in or not. Like, that's an insane year, especially from where they started. They started the year and they looked horrible. They make the change for Neptune, and then they go on to make half of the finals on the year, over half.
Yeah.
Just an insane year.
Eh,
Obviously, they don't close it out, so they may not be remembered, as much for this year, but an awesome year from them.
yeah. Awesome year nonetheless. And it just kind of reminds me of how, Vanguard phase where they made every final and just they could not win.
Yeah, it, in a way, but it's also so weird because like they were a team that was playing for something really weird. Like the 4 of them were playing for their first chip, and it would have
Yeah.
been a ring. Like
Yeah.
it's that's just crazy. Um,
That would have been so cool if they were to win their first chip
I would have
as the
loved it, and
resident champs.
I think all those players have some chips coming in the future though. I kind of hope they stick.
Yeah.
I hope they stick as a team because that team is just, it seemed like they had really good cohesion, really good teamwork. I know they didn't get it done. And like if there are some free agents and they get a big offer from a really good team, like they may take it, but like I don't know, the pace that 04 and Neptune play with. I mean, Neptune, if he can continue to play how he did this year, he's a top tier SMG. 04 is such a good setup SMG. I feel like
Yep.
he was a big reason why Neptune was so good all year because 04 will just be selfless. He'll just get a ton of engagements, go in first, just do the dirty work. At 04, he can be a little streaky, but he's an awesome player. Obviously, you and I have been high on Abuza since we saw him play. Like,
Yep.
I think Abuza is a really good player. And Nasty, again, I just think he's a really good flex because I think he's a really smart player and he just does what you need. Like he's gonna drop a 0.95 probably to potentially a 1. He'll have some pop off maps, but I think he's just a solid, reliable, like you know what you're gonna
They
get and
are.
he's gonna do it. Like can pull out a sub. I just think Nasty's just a good player. And I kind of hope they stick because I think they are a team that could really grow. Um,
Mhm.
I think it'll probably depend on what happens at EWC. All of a sudden, if they just bottom out at EWC, maybe they end up making a change.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for that team. They were awesome. I would have loved to see them win.
Yep.
Um,
Great champs.
yeah, a great
Not what
champs,
we expected.
because yeah, and like it was also a weird champs because it was like I came into the weekend expecting, okay, well, Phase and Thieves are going to be in the top 4. I can see
Yep.
a world where OpTic. I mean, I picked OpTic to get third. I can see a world where OpTic makes it. I could see Miami or Surge making it. I could even see Ultra making a run. I just expected, Boston and Ravens. They won't be there, but maybe they win a match or something. Uh, no, we actually ended up seeing Boston into the top 3, OpTic into the top 3, Surge into the top 3, and Miami fourth. And Phase and Thieves weren't even close to making it
Hmm.
to deep into the weekend, which it was just weird because I was like, all right, we're gonna see a lot of Phase and Thieves this weekend. I'm ready to watch those two teams battle it out, and then they were just both gone right away.
Yep.
And I was like, oh,
It's good.
okay,
It's good to see some other teams other than FaZe and these
yeah, it made
this
it
weekend too, just for the league aspect.
absolutely. It made it a lot more interesting, I would say.
Yep.
What was the thing that I saw? I saw something. Oh yeah, it was a post. I commented on it because I was like, I don't. This seems pretty obvious to me, but I don't know. It seemed obvious to me. I want to know if you agree with it. People I thought were agreeing with me for the most part, but Maven was like arguing against it, and I was like, I don't know, Maven knows ball, so I just was surprised he had this opinion. But where is it here? It was Jacob Hale post 4 hours ago. He said biases aside, which team had the best season, and it's a picture of OpTic, Phase, and Thieves. What is your answer to that? Which team had the best season?
I mean, the best season as in
I
like
know it's kind of tough the way you
it,
word it.
it's tough. It's tough because it like depends.
Like I can see why you would be like, the obviously like OpTic in terms of like their whole regular season was hell. Like there were
Yeah.
stretches where they couldn't win a map. They obviously did pretty poorly at every major except they got a fourth at the last one. I said I think it has to be OpTic because like if you asked the Phase and Thieves players, hey, would you trade your 2 major wins for the champs win this year? I think they wouldn't even hesitate and say yes.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for that reason, to me, I think you have to say OpTic. Again, not that like rings are the only thing that matters. I can see the argument for FaZe and Thieves because they basically had the same season, just flipped at times. Like FaZe won the
Hmm.
first two events and had an overall good regular season, even the last two. Thieves did not win the first two events, but were playing, overall pretty well, and then ended up winning the last two events. Like they both won two events and played well in the stretches overall. Besides a little bit in the beginning for FaZe, like overall they played well in the stretches when they weren't winning, and also they won two tournaments each. But again, like if you ask Simp, Abizi, Cell, Draza, and you ask Envoy, Ghosty, Hydra, and Scrap, if you ask those 8 players, you're like, hey, would you trade your two major wins this year for a champs ring? They before you could finish the sentence, they would say yes.
Yeah. Some players will trade all their wins that they have for a ring.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like I think you have to say OpTic because anybody would trade those two major wins for champs. But again, that doesn't mean that like Thieves and FaZe had, bad seasons.
Yeah.
But also it kind of depends because like in the same talk, like we're about to talk about all time, and I still have Scump over shottzyy all time, even though shottzyy has two more rings. And we just said you'd trade the major wins for a ring, but it's kind of like, I don't know, a longevity legacy thing. Also, like there's a difference between two tournaments and 22. Like
Yeah.
it's just weird. It's kind of always the question of what does something mean to you? It's like some players, yeah, they would trade their two wins. I think any player, if they had two wins, would trade those two wins for a ring. But like, I wonder what Scump would say if you asked him if you had to trade 10 of your wins for a ring.
Yeah.
I wonder what he would say. Or like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a player who won a decent amount, like I don't know, like a guy like Classic or something, or Gunless who has like 7 wins. If you ask Gunless if he would trade all 7 of his wins for a ring, I don't know that he would, knowing him.
Yeah.
Like he talks a lot about how much he loves some of his wins. So it's like, I don't know, would Gunless trade 7 wins for a ring? Maybe he would. I don't know. Obviously the ring does mean more than any single major, but like I don't know. It's a debate that we'll never know unless you ask the players because like they're the ones that
Yep.
have the wins. But I don't know. I just said OpTic and I thought that was an interesting question.
Yeah. That's a good question. Optic, all the changes and stuff they went through just to end up winning it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
Man.
the big thing too, Brock, here, I guess this is the big question a lot of people have been debating. How does this change the all-time player rankings? It's a
It
hot topic.
changes.
People are they got their hands out there about to start mashing their keyboards based on what we say here. Um, it certainly, I mean, it changes things. That's without a doubt. Does anybody crack into your top 3 all time from this?
Mm, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Who is your top 3 right now? And I think yours is the same as mine in order. You have Crim 1.
Grim, Karma, or Scump.
For me, it goes Crim, Scump, Karma. Again, splitting hairs. If you put Karma ahead of Scump, I'm not gonna say you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like
I
something
think
something about Scump's talent and peak. I lean towards him at 2, but I don't think anybody cracks into the top 3. I think where you start having a debate is like, shit, is shottzyy fourth? I have a
yeah, three
hard
rings.
I have a hard time putting him above Clay just because Clay does have over double the wins, but I'm not going to tell you you're completely wrong if you do put him above Clay.
Yeah. It's so hard to judge because all the terms that they had back in the day compared to now. Just really tough to judge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's again, it's subjective. There isn't a right answer. Like
Hmm.
I still probably keep Clay at 4, and then my 5 prior to this event's formal.
Yeah.
Again, like
Shotzzy?
I think shottzyy that I think that's the debate. I think it's a shottzyy 5 or 6. I think shottzyy jumps everybody else. Below that, I would have had like Aches and Simp and Abizia right there.
Yeah.
I think shottzyy now jumps all of them, and it's a debate between shottzyy and formal.
Hmm.
Again, like shottzyy has the 2 rings over formal. Formal has like what, like
20 some wins.
20 wins, around 20 wins, like 12 more chips than shottzyy. Like again, if you put shottzyy above him, I'm not going to be like that's the craziest thing ever. I also know that like recency bias is like, oh my god, shottzyy the number 1 KD at champs, he was unreal, and that's his 3rd ring, and he's only 23. And like again, if I'm projecting this, I think shottzy's gonna, if he isn't already, he's gonna pass formal, he's gonna pass Clay, And then that's where the debate really comes in because then you're hitting into the really big three. The Crim,
Yeah.
Scump, Karma trio is like it's like, to me, it's like those three are like the top tier. And then you have another tier that's Clay and Formal. And maybe Aches was in there. Simpatibizi kind of in that same range. But I think that Crim, Scump, Karma is like that tier that's just like, that's like the tier that everybody's reaching for, you know?
Yep.
So it's like those are the guys that it's like I don't think he's into that tier yet, but I think you can argue him as high as, I don't know, maybe this is recency bias. I think you can argue him as high as 4. I think I don't know, some of the things I saw from Formal Man in his peak, like
It is different. Diabolical.
I mean Shotzi's also different, but like
Yeah.
I I think I have Shottzyy 6, maybe. Because I think my top 4 is, I don't know. I debate between Crim and, or not Crim, Clay and Formal all the time between who should be 4 and 5.
Hmm.
Right now, I'm feeling like I want to put Formal 4. Maybe tomorrow, I feel like I want to put Clay 4. I think my top 4 is Crim, Scump, Karma, then Formal, and then Clay, and then I would have Shottzyy. You know what? No, screw it. I'm putting Shottzyy at 5. That's where I'd settle him. But
Okay.
you could move him down to 6. But I think he slots in at 6, and then that basically drops Simp down to 7, Abizi down to 8, Aches down to 9. I think it's right where he slides in because I
Yeah.
think everybody else is sliding Aches out of their top 10, but I don't go for the Aches disrespect. I feel like people just hate him nowadays because of. I mean, I personally kind of wish he would drop the gimmick too. Like I know it's his thing. Like
Yeah.
he hates OpTic. He doesn't want to call Shotzzy a superstar, but I kind of hate the gimmick because I'm like, Aches, if you somehow hear this, you're so knowledgeable on COD and like have such a different way that you think about the game in a way because like Aches was a villain in a way that nobody ever was to the scene, and he was so good at it. Like I know it's his act, and it gets a lot of clicks. So like I understand why he does it, but like man, I wish he would drop it because he does have like, I mean, he has more knowledge than almost anybody on
Yeah.
COD, and like I feel like we miss out on so much of the actual knowledge. Because did you ever listen to that like reverse sweep podcast he did for Deserto? It's with like
Um,
Doug
I
and
I did a little bit, but not
I
as of recently.
I loved Aches on that podcast because he actually was like himself. He was
Yeah.
actually just like talking and like I'm not rage. I mean, I'm not like this big optic fan, so I'm not like rage baited by him being like, oh my god,
Yeah.
Shotzi's not a superstar. It's like whatever. We talk about it on the podcast because it's a fun conversation to have, but like I don't really care about that. I just like to hear like on the reverse sweep, he always had like such like he actually like provided like good knowledge. So I don't know. I really liked Aches on that show, and I wish he would do that more. But that's kind of a side tangent. Where do you have Shotzi?
Well, Crim, Karma, Scump, Formal. I'm kind of. It's tough. I'm kind of more like with you putting shots you had a Clay, but
And
I don't
people are
know.
gonna
I don't know how I feel about that, but
And people are going to be like, "Oh my god, he's so easily ahead of Clay," because like a lot of people have the recency bias of Clay
yeah,
towards the tail end here. The CDL wasn't as good, but like, I mean, Clay also has 3 rings and
yeah,
more chips than Shotzzy. But I just think Shotzi's peak again probably
better.
higher. So I maybe have him ahead of Clay. But again, if you want to put Clay ahead of him, I'm not going to say that's crazy.
I think just watching. I didn't really watch that much of Clay, unfortunately, from what I remember.
I feel like his
I,
peak was
I think
BO2 at
I,
AW.
yeah,
You know,
I think I'm more with you on putting shots you have ahead of Clay in the
yeah.
moment.
And then but you think he slides into there like that 5-6 range, and then like what drops like Sympabeezy Aches are right behind him.
Yeah,
Okay, I think everybody pretty much is going to unanimously agree that Shotzzy is into the top at the very least. Even if you have Simp and Abizi ahead of him, like I think he, even if you have, let's say, even if you have Simp, Abizi, Aches, I don't think people had Shotzzy in their top 10 before this event. Even if
hmm,
you have Simp, Abizi, Aches still ahead of him, Clay, I think at the very least Shotzzy has cracked your top 10, probably your top 8, 7. Then there's a debate from there. I think Shotzzy, I mean, he's in the top 10. I don't think you can actually debate it. He's certainly at least in
yeah,
the top 10. Another
agreed.
guy, Brock, who gets interesting now, though. Obviously, Merc got a long ways to go. He's potential to get up there. I mean, he looks unreal. The kid has a ring in his third event. Like,
Talents and match too.
Talents and match. Obviously, he's nowhere near the top 10 with the one
Yep.
single win. Like we've seen a young AR get a one single win at champs named Assault, and he has yet to find another one. Um,
Yep.
obviously, Merc nowhere near the top 10 list, but obviously the potential's there. Um, the other two guys in OpTic, though, it's an interesting conversation to have, is all I'll say, because huke is now a
Dash.
six-time winner and two-time champ, two-time world champ. Dashy,
Oop.
five-time winner, two-time tournament MVP, two-time champ, back to back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that they're in it. I have to do a little more thought on it because, again, I think the Tiny Terror. I think like obviously the OpTic Dynasty and Clay and shottzyy and the Tiny Terrors, and then that's already we're talking eight, and then I think still Aches probably is nine, and then I start from there. I'm like, okay, where do huke and Dashy rank? I think I put Dashy ahead of huke, so huke's out of my top 10 for sure. But again, huke's easily into the top 20 now. Like
Yep.
Dashy also, I think Dashy is bordering on that top 10. And also, like, when you think about ARs, Dashy might be third behind Clay and Formal now. Because again, Crim, Karma, Aches are all weird because I think of all three of them as like flexes, basically, because they did a little bit of both. I don't know, Brock. I think Dashy's approaching. There's a world where he's approaching the top 10. And I mean, talk about the biggest
Turn
um
around.
yeah, the biggest turnaround of a career, because like a couple years ago it was, man, Dashy is so damn talented, but for all that talent in this many years, he only has like two wins.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden, over the last 2 years, he wins a major and a world champ last year, and then world champs again this year. Like
Yep.
he wins two rings and a major. He went from before MW3, he was a two-time winner with all that talent. Now he's a five-time winner with two rings.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he talk about a legacy change, and huke also. I feel like this ring
Mm-hmm.
really stamps huke because again, it gets into six wins, two chips, and talk about longevity. I mean, we were talking about this guy in Ghosts in AW like as the young phenom,
Yep.
and now he just won a championship in 2025. Like
Mm-hmm.
AW was 2015,
10 years going.
and still a good slayer, like a really good talented player.
Yep.
Like, and I've been critical, you've been critical of huke on land, but like I got nothing to say to this one. Like
Yep. He
he was
did. He did his thing on land.
he was awesome this weekend. He was a crucial part of them winning. Him and shottzyy setting pace. He was a crucial part, and just like, I mean, I got nothing else to say. Huke was awesome.
Yep. And I saw Hook was voted for the most overrated player at the start of the season.
Yeah, I didn't see that actually.
I don't know who votes were not, but I saw that and I was like, interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting because obviously, like, I mean, what just happened speaks for itself. Like,
Yeah.
he just won, but I feel like this did a lot. Obviously, like Merc, it's such a young career that like this is a big thing in his career, but like doesn't
Hmm.
change his legacy as much as the other two because of how like Merc has a lot more time to change his legacy. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like he has a lot more years left to get a lot more accomplishments. Whereas like for huke, if he didn't get this done, I don't think he ever gets it done again. Because like
Agreed.
if they don't win this tournament, I don't think huke's on OpTic next year again. Now it's a little bit weird, and we'll talk about roster mania in a sec here. But like now it's like if he doesn't get it done here, I think OpTic probably moves on from him for like the 80th time. Uh, picks up Joe
Yep. Just
Deceives or whoever, and now they'll probably end up sticking, obviously, because they won champs.
yep.
Very, very interesting
I
though.
will.
Here talking
I
about
have one
huke.
more thing. I have
Yeah,
one more thing.
yeah.
So, what if Shotzi at the end of his career wins, let's say, like around 13 to 15 tournaments, but he has 5 rings? Would you put him as like the GOAT?
Five, yeah. Five rings,
Yeah.
yeah.
What about 4?
Unless like Simp has four, but like 20 something wins.
Yeah.
There's a talk. Simp and Abizi, assuming they play together. There's some talk there because like they do have like what 14 or 15 wins, so they almost have twice as many wins as shottzyy. If they're able
Yeah.
to get within one ring of him and still have like 8 to 9 more wins, there's a debate there. I don't. I don't. It's so the comparison's so hard though. Like, yeah, if shottzyy has 5 rings though and like 15 wins, what'd you say, 13, 14, 15 wins
Yeah, around there.
and 5 rings? Yeah, I think he probably has to be the GOAT for sure. Obviously, with 2 more rings than anybody else, assuming Simp and Abizi don't have like 4
Yeah.
or 5 also. But it's just so hard because of the era changes to compare him to Karim because like no matter what shottzyy retires with, he's gonna have so many less wins than Karim and Scump.
Yeah. Mhm.
And like it's just so because like those guys had so many more tournaments, and that's not like Krim and Scump still like they're still all time greats no matter what. Like they were dominant and they did it for a long time. Like I saw the thing that Scump had 10 years between his first and last tournament win, the longest ever. Like that's absurd.
Yeah.
But and Krim was second with like 9 something. But yeah, it's tough, man. Because like I mean, if shottzyy gets 37 wins like Krim in the CDL era, he's obviously the GOAT. Like because there's the longevity that he would have to do that is
Play until he's
absurd.
like 40
I
almost.
mean, think if we get 4 majors like we did this year and champs 5 events, even count EWC 6 events, he's only at 8 right now. He needs 30 wins to pass Krim, and say there's 6 events a year for the next 5 years. That's 30 events. So for the next 5 years, you have to win every event. Would be the quickest he could pass Krim.
Yeah, I
That's
he
literally
does. I
absurd.
don't think he's doing that.
If shottzyy wins 30 events in a row, hey, anybody listening, he's the GOAT.
Yeah, you're lucky to win one event a year.
It's insane, man. But like it is. I mean, do you kind of agree? It's just so hard. Like the era
Yeah,
changes, and like that's why I hate when people just like. I also hate like there's a lot of discourse. I was talking with Jake and some people on Twitter today. I hate the discourse of like, well, shottzyy won and Simp had a bad event, so it's laughable that you could ever compare the two. And it's like, why we don't have to put down Simp and Abizi to prop up shottzyy. Like a week ago, you couldn't even make an argument that shottzyy was greater than Simp and Abizi all time. So like
yep,
for you now to call it laughable that we compare them to each other, it's like, dude, literally a week ago, you would have got laughed at for saying shottzy's better than Simp because Simp and shottzyy had the same rings and Simp has double the wins. So like
yep,
literally a week ago, you would have got laughed at for saying shottzy's better all time. Now, obviously, him winning a ring, it's like, wait a minute here. He's won back to back rings. He's won 2 rings since Simp won his last one. Like, wait a minute here. Like, now I totally get it. Like, you can have shottzyy over Simp, but like to say like him and Simp can't be in the same combo is crazy. Like, that's crazy recency bias.
yeah,
But I mean, shout out to the OpTic boys. Like, talk about some legacies. Merc has a chance to have a special career with starting with a ring in his first year. Um, Huke really cemented himself. Huke was already an all-time great just because he has a ring. He had 5 wins already, and like just like the talks of like people talk about AW Huke like a folktale, like how good he was. And obviously, we all know like whether it was online land, whatever you want to say, Huke has always been a very talented player. Like the raw talent, especially when he was young, is some of the best we've ever seen. But man, uh, talk about some legacy builders for them. I guess that leads us to just like a quick next question. I think this weekend really changed, Brock, how teams might look. Oh, actually, quickly, overall peak viewers, it was the all-time high for competitive COD esports match, 353,525 for OpTic versus the Surge. That's cool.
big for the program.
Yeah, that's really cool. Hopefully, the CDL actually. I saw a lot of people saying we're the most resilient community. It's insanely true because the CDL has basically done nothing to
Yep,
promote this. It's all grassroots community stuff, really. Just like everybody, we're creating our own storylines with drama and like all this stuff going on. It's like shout out to the community. If the CDL actually like put their full efforts into it and really started promoting and like taking on new ideas, not just running back the same thing every year, the shit could be crazy. But that's
most
cool.
definitely.
The other thing I want to talk about was roster mania stuff, Brock. Uh I think that this, I will there's more of a chance that it's insane now than it was before champs. Would you agree with
Yep,
that?
agreed.
Because before champs, it was probably like, FaZe and LAT are going to get first and second, and probably not going to change. Now it's like, wait a minute, they got last in top six. So
Yeah.
could a change be happening? That's why I love EWC. I love the extra month of content for us. I love that we get an extra big tournament. But like, damn, if EWC wasn't here, we'd probably be talking about potential phase and thieves changes.
Yeah.
But now it's like they could go to EWC, win the tournament, and it's like, okay, all's forgiven. I kind of want thieves to
Yeah.
bottom out though, because I kind of want Kenny to go there.
Not wrong. That'd be a good.
Selfish, I know, but I was just thinking about that, and I know people are gonna be. I can already hear the comments. Kenny's so bad. Ghosty's so much better. Wrong, but I'll let you have your moment. I mean,
Yeah.
Kenny has as many rings as Ghosty has wins, but that's a combo for another day.
Yep. Not wrong.
I Ghosty's incredible, and if they keep him, that'd be a great move, and they're gonna win more tournaments next year. Like, is what it is. But I don't know. Like, what do you think when you look at this champs in terms of rosters? I think Vancouver are going to stick, and I hope they stick. OpTic, I think, are obviously going to stick after winning. I think FaZe and Thieves are going to at least stick through EWC. Because again, it's like there has to be somebody out there that's worth changing for and worth having to change in scrim for the next few weeks with somebody new. Obviously, I think Ravens are going to make a change. I think Boston plays EWC and then makes a change because they're probably going to disband. I think Heretics bring in Snoopy if possible.
I like that.
My hot take. Well, this is what I want to talk about. My hot take. I think it's the Kleenex and Inside experiments over. I think.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming.
I mean,
Yeah, they're good together, but
yeah,
can't win it.
they kind of broke onto the scene. BO4 champs together. Then Insight was on the bench for a little bit um, with the Ultra, and then in Cold War, he obviously gets the call up over methods, and then from Cold War on, the two of them have been on the roster since. He had a .79 this weekend, and it's just been kind of writing on the walls. Like Insight is solid, but like I don't know. I don't know that they're ever going to be able to attract a top player again and sign a top player like a scrap to that team. If
Yeah.
they're going to have to keep taking shots on guys like Joe who have a lot of talent, Beans who have a lot of talent, and hoping it works. Um, just imagine a world where they were able to keep Merc and have Merc, Beans, Joe,
Hmm.
and Kleenex. Could have been a different story for
Man.
them this weekend. I
It
think
could have.
I still think they're an attractive destination. Like if they keep Kleenex and Joe, I don't know what they do with Beans and Insight, but like if they keep Kleenex and Joe for any free agent ARs, they're a pretty attractive destination. I mean, it's gonna be hard to find a better sub duo than that that's just looking for two
Yeah.
because those two are really good.
Agreed.
So we'll see what roster mania looks like. I think I saw the thing that Cobra, and then obviously our bottom four teams probably making changes as well, potentially before EWC.
Yeah.
I saw the rumor that Cobra potentially to the Ravens. I would assume for Rex. That
Hmm.
shocks me because again, Cobra, I believe I could be wrong, but I believe he's a French player, so it seems like a no brainer that Gentlemates and Gotaga would be trying to get him. I'm still shocked they
Yeah.
never tried to get him during the year, just with him, I believe being I could be wrong again, but I believe he's a French player. So like why in the world is Gotaga not going after him? It seems like he really wants to, and I don't blame him. Like he's French, he has a huge French following. Like if there's a top tier French player, like I don't blame
Go
Gotaga
for
for
it.
wanting them. Like you could build a huge brand with them.
Yep.
So that's kind of weird to me. Um, a
You know,
couple,
Vegas, interesting to say the least. Because how much of a bag they have.
and they do have a decent building block in Pred.
They do. Yep.
Like they have a decent building block in Pred. They have potentially the most money to throw around. Kind of all depends who free agents are. Like if guys like Joe and or Kleenex are free agents, they could potentially try to poach one to pair with Pred, and all of a sudden you've got a pretty interesting sub duo. You got a Joe or a Kleenex who's in a really aggressive sub and could pair really well with Pred, who's a little bit of a slower sub, and whatever
Hmm.
ARs are available. I expect that team to be pretty much retooled, but they may want to keep Exnid just because he's kind of their guy from
Yeah.
their region from Saudi. Like they might want to keep him. Um,
Hmm.
so who knows if they just kind of want to build around his brand and all that. Um, he's a very well liked player. EWC groups, Brock, got a couple more things before we wrap it up. EWC groups, uh, again, the word I know I just said it, but interesting.
See?
Yeah, so hang on, I'm pulling them up here again quick. Um, OpTic with their win, I feel like they got a pretty good draw. because
Yep.
it's based on their placements at champs, and then the 9 through 12 is where they finished. 9 through 12 in the regular season standings, since obviously they weren't at champs. Um, but OpTic get a pretty nice pool. They get Ravens, Rocker, and Team Orchid, which Team Orchid is an EU team. It's Bance, Henry, Mythics, and Lucifer. So I believe we know Bance. Obviously, we know Bance. And then I
Yep.
think we've seen Henry, maybe Mythics. I've heard. Don't know much about him.
Sounds
And
familiar.
Lucifer, I haven't heard, but it's obviously the headliner there, Bance, obviously. Been around
Yep.
forever, but I mean, that seems like a group that OpTic should be able to run through. And then obviously, if Kenny's on Rocker, I'm hoping for him. I think I would probably pick Rocker anyways to be the team to come out of there, but
Yeah.
it's a pretty weak group after OpTic.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm with you. I'll pick Rocker over Ravens and Orchid.
yeah. Obviously, pending whatever changes happen, things could change.
Yeah.
Group B though, Cloud9,
Cloud
man,
nine.
they cannot avoid. They can't avoid it. Obviously, the seeds are a little messed up just because of like Phase and Thieves were our top two all year, and with their bad placements at champs, they fall to like the 2 seed in their respective groups. So the Group B, this is all again. I should say this is not confirmed, but this is probable.
Yep.
Probable groups, not confirmed. Group B looking to be Surge, 100 Thieves, Cloud9, and Team War. So obviously Surge, we know who that is. Expect them not to make a change. Thieves, don't expect them to make a change. Cloud9, again, they're probably going to go with their roster, I would assume, that they had to end the year with
Yeah.
Spart and those guys, Kremp. Um,
Yep.
and then they have Team War, who is the a bunch of familiar names: Assault, Diamondcon, Lins, and Two Real, names we've seen forever. A bunch of former pros. Not too moved by that team. I think they'll probably see Surge and 100D come out of this group, most likely. Um, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Initial reactions again. Group C, again, weird because all of a sudden Breach are the number one seed in this bracket because they finished third. They've got Ultra joining them, and then Gentlemates and Omit Brooklyn. Kind of your thoughts on that one?
Oddly enough,
Um,
no.
I
I would
know.
say if the Omit in Group B was in C, I'd pick them to be one of the top two teams to go through
Oh, if it was Omit and this, because in this bracket,
in
it's
Group.
sorry, my headset keeps cutting out. It was Omit Brooklyn this group, yeah, and their roster is Brack, Yuli, Standy, Prolude, the second place team, anyways.
Yep. I think Ultra and I think Omid Brooklyn is the team that goes through. Oddly enough.
I think I kind of like the way that the seeds worked out with like Breach kind of messing things up because like Breach again they probably earned the right to be the favorites with how they did, but again here we are potentially doubting them again. Uh,
Yeah.
but I think this one does get interesting though because like Ultra are on a decline. They could make a change. Who knows about them? Like they Ultra and Breach deserve the right to be the favorites to come out of this bracket.
Yep.
But like Breach had one really good weekend, but other than that, they've been pretty middling. So like they're could be upset. Ultra are on a decline. Maybe they make a change before EWC. They're a team that could be upset. Gentlemates are no powerhouse, and Omit Brooklyn was a consistent top two team in challengers. So and a bunch of former pros. You got Brack, we all know. Yuli was in the league for a bit. Standy, we obviously all know. Prolu, we obviously all know. Like it's a solid team, which takes us into our other bracket, which is Heretics, FaZe, Falcons, and Omit. Kind of a tough draw for Omit, I would say, because they're the challenger champs, and I feel like this is one of the tougher
Yep.
groups because they have like if I was them, I want to be in group A or C because like Optics in group A, but like the rest of the group is not too strong. Ravens and Rocker are
Yep.
beatable, or like put me in the group with Breach and Ultra. Like if I'm Omit, I'm kind of pissed because like Falcons can make a change and be better. Like Heretics are a really good team and FaZe are really good, and Omit's the challenger champs, and I feel like they low key got the toughest draw or one of the toughest draws, maybe behind the Surge 100T group, but like
Yeah.
they got a really tough draw. That team is obviously the challenger champs. They got Vivid and Mac, who we all know, and then two challenger players named Craze and Mamba. I've heard a lot about Craze being a really good player.
Mhm.
But yeah,
And
kind of
probably FaZe and Heretics go through.
probably, but unfortunate because I want to see a team like Omit come from challengers and make some noise, but they just get a really
Yeah.
tough draw against two of our top teams.
Yeah.
It's tough because again, these challenger teams, like I was talking with somebody on Twitter about it today. Like, I want to see the old open bracket style because, like, I want to see these challenger teams have a chance. We were just on like different pages with the argument. I was like, I don't think that like Omit's going to come in and win a tournament. They're not going
Mhm.
to beat like your Phase, your Thieves, your top teams. But the point of it is like, I think CDL teams suck at scouting talent. Like, they never seem to sign the right players. Like, I mean, you had Falcons signing Priesta and Arcitys over Merc.
Yep.
Like, they don't seem to scout the right players. Sometimes they do, but they don't overall seem to scout the right players. So it's like, why don't we give these teams just like the old way? They play through open bracket, they get into pool play. It's not the point isn't to have them win a tournament, although it almost happened and kind of did happen with United in IW. But like, it's not the point isn't to have them win a tournament. The point is like, okay, they get into pool play, and now these teams are literally forced to play against them. And like somebody would have noticed this year, like Ghosty said it before the year, he played against or saw Merc play. And he's like, that kid is next up. Before
Yep.
anybody even really was talking too much about Merc, and it's like now all of a sudden, if these CDL teams have to shoot against them, like these players know what they're doing. All of a sudden, if they would have shot against Merc, they would have been like, hey, hang on, like we need a new
Wait a
AR. That
minute.
kid is shooting. He's making good plays on the map. Like, or teams would have played Neptune and they would have been like, you know what? I know Neptune has had some bad stints, but like, trust me, like
Yeah.
you feel his presence on the map, and like they would make the changes quicker. I just think they would make overall better changes. We need that old format back. It's not to say challenger teams are going to run everybody because they're not. Like,
Yeah.
they're not. It's not that the point isn't that they're going to have four players. The E United story is really rare because that team
Mhm.
happened to have prestinni, who's a world champ, Arcitys, who's a two-time world champ, and Gunless, who's talent-wise had one of the best peaks we've seen.
Yep.
Like, and then Silly, a solid vet, a world champ. Like, that team is kind of an anomaly, but the point isn't for those teams to win the tournament. The point is for those teams to, oh, their superstar player shows out, shoots really well, and it's like, damn, like maybe we should pick that guy up. It forces CDL teams to pay attention.
Yep. Agreed.
But I'm excited to see once they officially announce the groups and get into EWC. Unfortunately, I'll be gone until like I'm flying back home the Saturday of EWC, so I'll miss a lot, but I'll be able to watch like the back half of it and the match on Sunday.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to talk about, Brock, this is insulting. They added my favorite competitive map of all time
After.
into rank after champs, and that is Fringe. I saw the pictures of it. I don't know if I like the vibe as much. I see it here. It's gonna be added with the season 4 reloaded update. I don't know. I don't know if I like the vibe. The weird balloons middle looks a little weird. Obviously the yeah,
Updated.
it's like a little updated. Obviously you can't wall run, so the map changes. I'm most curious to see what like I haven't played it at all. Is it even in the game yet? No, it's season 4 reloaded. It's getting added.
I think Wednesday
Yeah.
it will be
So
in the game.
I'm kind of curious because like the one question obviously I have is like a big thing was hopping into like grannies and into barn. There's
Yep.
obviously like the back way into barn and like the staircase into grannies, and then my other one is wall running on like the train hill. I'm a little bit worried about like the top barn, spot might be just OP because like you can't
Mhm.
just jump up into it. It's like a crazy high ground, and also like breaking grandma's house with one staircase to get in
That is not fun.
could be insane. And then also like going through trains, if somebody just like holds that line of sight now, they could just beam you. Whereas before you could hop on the wall and bounce back and forth and like
Yeah.
so I don't know. It could be interesting, obviously, going from a jetpack game to a non. If you never played Fringe in BO3 and now all of a sudden it plays bad, don't come telling me that the map sucks because I'm just gonna ignore you and act like I
Yep.
didn't hear it because it's my favorite map of all time. But also just insulting that they actually take an all-time great competitive map and they're like, hey, here you go after champs. Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Wait, actually, there is one more thing. Did you see what that? What's his name? Lawrence, I think it was the
Who?
Treyarch dev who was on the desk. What he said?
Oh,
He said
the
bold thing to say, but he said if you love Black Ops
oh, yeah.
2, especially competitive, then you'll love Black Ops 7. Crazy thing to say because Black Ops 2 widely regarded as the best competitive game of all time. So he's literally
Mhm.
just setting himself up for failure because even if BO7 is an awesome competitive game, he's trying to compare it to what many would call the best.
Yeah.
So kind of setting himself up for failure there. But I don't really fall for Call of Duty's antics anymore. Of like, oh my god, this is going to be the best thing ever. This is going to be the best thing ever. It's kind of a I'll believe it when I see it thing. But I always have my hopes up for a Treyarch game more than
Yep.
any other game, and it sounds like we could get a mix of Black Ops 2 remastered maps and regular maps. But I hope he's talking about like something. League play system is like people look at that with such rose-colored glasses. The current rank system is better than the league play system
Yep,
because the league play
100%.
system was just like weird ladder points. Like SR is the best way to play ranked. It's like the easiest way. It's like, okay, if I win this many games, I can hit plat to diamond to crim to whatever it is in whatever game you're playing. The SR system's the best. However, you and I talk about this all the time, but I want them to bring the teams back from BO2.
That is fun.
In BO2 League Play, that was really fun. Whereas if you're playing with a specific group of 4 people, you can like make the emblem, make your logo, and you would have your team rank. So like your team could hit plat, your team could hit diamond, your team could hit crim, and iridescent, and so on. And then like if you, let's say you and I are playing with 2 of our friends, we'd have an individual team, but then one of our friends has to leave and somebody else goes in. That could be a new team, and like that certain team has a rank, and it's like, okay, you can grind with your team, and it's like, I don't know, it feels like more in a way kind of like fun and rewarding. It's like, you're playing for a team SR and you're trying
Yep.
to bring it up, and you can be like, okay, my team is, depending on what level, okay, it's like it might be a big accomplishment if your team hits gold, if that's the level you're at. Or if your team hits plat, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of fun. Like to grind and be like, okay, our team hit crim now, and you're playing other crim teams, and it's like, I don't know, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is.
Especially for people like us, it's like we're not playing challengers, we're not playing competitive. Like I don't know. There's this weird notion amongst pros that it's like, oh my god, they hate people that 4 stack. But it's like, dude, I'm not having fun if I'm duo queuing with randoms. Like, I want
Yeah,
to play with my 3 friends in 4 stack, and like that's how we have fun playing. So it'd be fun if they bring the teams back.
yeah. I'm not about to talk to some random on a call out and he gets pissed at me for not
Yeah,
getting a kill or some shit.
yeah. Like
That,
I just want to play with my 3 buddies, chill, go hard when
yeah,
somebody starts talking shit or something, and then go from there.
have fun, laugh and shit. Yeah,
I mean, you'll see when we, start streaming and like playing games, but like we're pretty chill. And then it's like, okay, well, we'll try in this game, and it's like it's overall we're just playing to vibe. Like we want to win, but we're just overall playing to vibe.
yeah.
Yeah, but uh, overall, I think that's gonna do it for this one. I don't
Yeah.
going forward. I mean, like I said, hopefully, I don't know exactly when, but coming up in the next sometime in the off season, could be as soon as like hell. I don't know if I can figure out the whole thing. Could be as soon as like maybe like later tonight randomly I stream, or maybe this week, or maybe it's not for a little bit, but sometime this off season planning to do some like gaming streams and stuff, and then obviously watch parties as frequently as we can during the next year. Maybe EWC if I'm home in time. Um, Not sure exactly what's going to be next week if we get some more roster news.
Hopefully.
Obviously, that kind of stuff, and then it's going to be kind of lead up to EWC, and then the off season honestly might be filled with just like short pods and then like more streams, and that'll kind of be the content that's on the channel, or more just like random videos, because looking to just upgrade a lot more and do a little bit more with the channel. So we'll see what comes out coming up here, but plan at some point we're kind of gearing up to just do not. It's not like we're going to be streaming every day, but like a Val stream, a random COD stream, maybe just like variety games with our boys, just something like that, and they'll all be live, and I'll have their links in the
Mm.
description whenever we're streaming. But that's gonna do it for this one. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review, comment down below your thoughts on champs. What's your current top 10 looking like now that there could be some movement within that? For it's always that time of year, like champs time is when there could potentially be movement in that top 10 depending on who gets that ring. But that's gonna do it for this one, and we will see you guys in the next one.